Hello everyone, a very good morning to you. Welcome to Mugello for the world final in the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell category, where we bring together all three regions, Asia Pacific, North America and Europe, to contest for one world final race. The championships are all done and dusted. It's just the pride of this world final race to be raced for now, bringing to a close what has been a fantastic season in 2017. We're at the Mugello circuit then, the 5.245 kilometre circuit, about an hour from Bologna, perhaps a bit more, an hour certainly from Florence or thereabouts. 5.245 kilometres, 14 turns, 6 of them left, 8 of them right-handers. And the Finale Mondiale weekend played out here at this fantastic, very, very technical circuit, and very fast circuit as well. In terms of qualifying, it's been great news for the European drivers who occupy the first 6 positions on the grid. The best of the North American drivers is Barry Zeckelman, who will go from P7 on the grid. The best of the Asia Pacific drivers is Tadakazu Kojima, who will be going from P8 on the grid. On board the von Skeltermar car then, the car that is depicted with the shark's teeth at the front of it. Not that you can see that, because clearly we're on board with the von Skeltermar car. And looking back from the Johnny Lawson car, Johnny Lawson, who is the European Coppa Shell champion, is going from P2 on the grid. His arch rival, Henry Hassid, has done just marginally better and goes from P1 on the grid. The way the qualifying works, it's a combination of fastest laps over the qualifying for the races, which determines the grid for this World Championship race. And it is Henry Hassid that has been deemed quickest. Giancarlo Fisichella then is one of the official Ferrari GT drivers and has been here all weekend and is down there on the grid to wish well to the drivers who are racing for the pride of the nations and also to take that gold roof. The Charles Pozzi team is the team that engineers the car of Henry Hassid. And there we can see the Charles Pozzi car of Henry Hassid, who's done enough to be pole position then. And there once again is Giancarlo Fisichella. And Giancarlo Fisichella then, one of the official Ferrari GT drivers, as indeed is James Collado. Welcome back, friend. You've got the short straw today, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, busy. They're keeping me busy.
Here's the starting grid then. Henry Hassid, Johnny Lawson go from the front row. Fabienne Volven, the fastest lady. She goes from P3, just ahead of Manuela Gosner going from P4. The two ladies together there. Eric Prinot and Christoph Herney. All European races that we're seeing so far. Before we see Barry Zeckelman and Tadakazu Kojima, then it's Carl Williams, Ingvar Madsen, Vladimir Hladek and Thomas Gosner. Thomas Gosner from P12 on the grid, incidentally father of Manuela Gosner, who's going from P4. James Wayland, then it's Chan and Kinch and Skeltermar, Zhang and Murat Kuhadaruglu goes from P18 on the grid ahead of Claudio Schiavone, then Fassbender, Fujiwara, Musial, Gao and Tommy Lindroth. Going from P24 on the grid, Dusan Palkra, Tina Koch, then it's Baker, Moon, Dicker, Mack, occupying the next rows, 41 cars in this. Laurent Demuse, then it's Chen and Kamstrup and Yao and Lim and Honda across the next rows of the grid. There you can see from P31 to P36, then it's Pichoni, Wang, Kim Siri, Nagadapuna and Rotlander then bringing up the rear. P41. What a grid of cars in this Coppa Shell world final race. The Scuderia Ferrari flag fluttering in the wind as we look at Fabienne Volven then in the 301 car. Fabienne Volven then, who made history this year at Imola, becoming the first lady to win a race outright in the Ferrari Challenge. And it's really interesting, James. I've watched Fabienne in tin top racing where always been sort of P11, P12, and then put into a GT car, and just everything seemed to come together, and pole position, race win at Imola, which is not an easy track, and she's really, really done well and has qualified P3 for this race, so one to watch potentially.
Yeah, that's really, really amazing, and like you said, Imola is really, really difficult. It's really a driver's circuit, as is this one. No, it's great to see. It's really, really nice, and I mean, to get the win is just incredible.
This is the James Collado fan club that you could see there, all queuing up for the latest photographs of James Collado. And that's people waiting to come in and being flippant. Johnny Lawson, who has done enough to seal the championship in Coppa Shell for the European Series. And he's going from P2 on the grid. And as I mentioned, his arch rival Henry Hasid, who chased him all the way to the title, is going from P1 on the grid. All the awards were made last night at a fantastic gala dinner. It was a great event last night, which I had the privilege of presenting alongside Alberto Bugini. Of course, we had a female DJ there as well, James, and despite the fact that I'd come prepared with my Earth, Wind and Fire album, I was not required.
I woke up this morning with a little bit of a headache,
Oh,
I must
no.
say. Yeah, so excuse my voice, guys.
Just a couple of lemonades was all that James had, that's for sure. Of course, what we should say is the female DJ, of course, in Daytona last year, Giancarlo Fisichella took to the decks, didn't he?
Yeah, female, yeah. He's really into it. Yeah, he was good.
A quiet moment in direction of Finale Mondiali here at Mugello. My name is Eric Prinot, racing Ferrari Challenge since 19 years. This is the 20th year. So I enjoy very much the Finale Mondiali at Mugello because I have been lucky here at Mugello 2 years ago. So I hope to be lucky also this year. Everybody of us, of the drivers, are looking for luck on this circuit, in this special event, Finale Mondiali, the most important in the year. Everybody preparing safely and with a lot of effort for this event, and this event will decide who will the best driver in the world. Oh, Ferrari belongs to my story because the story began also with my father. My father was a lucky owner of Ferrari GTO 250, and so at that time, when my father was racing, I was not allowed to race because the company, father's company, was quite a big company, and I had to work in this company. And just many years later, I started to race with, I was 50 years old, so I began very late. But it was possible with Ferrari Challenge because in Ferrari Challenge we have our own category. We are gentleman drivers, and as gentleman driver, it's very nice to race for Ferrari. It's not you cannot compare Ferrari with other cars. Ferrari is very special, and if Ferrari wouldn't exist, I probably would not race. Thanks for nice coffee. Enjoy Finale Mondiali. Enjoy Ferrari Challenge. For me now, it's time to go.
Sure enough, it is time for Eric Prinot to go, going from P5 on the grid. The fans are flocking in then for this Coppa Shell World Final race. So the cars are away on the formation lap, and James Collado, that's a really interesting story from Eric Prinot, and something of a privilege that Ferrari affords to gentlemen racers, even when you reach the heady heights of 50 years of age, to start a racing career. It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Absolutely amazing, and he got it spot on. There's just something about Ferrari, something about these cars, the atmosphere, which is so special and unique to anything else. And to get people like this involved in this sport is just great, and we've got a huge grid here. It's just amazing to see.
And you have gentlemen drivers like Eric Prinot, who are up against drivers with huge experience like Henry Hassid and Johnny Lawson, and then young guns racing in this as well, the likes of Fabian Volvend also. So it's this fantastic mix of drivers, isn't it? And across, of course, the regions, North America, Asia Pacific and Europe, in this particular world final race, where it's just the pride of the nations up for grabs. Then we're on board with von Skeltermar then on this formation lap. Rolling start for all of the Ferrari Challenge races. Looking back from Johnny Lawson then, who is P2. We're looking back at the lady racers, Fabian Volvend and Manuela Gosner, both of whom have qualified really, really well, going from P3 and P4 on the grid. And the best of the ladies will appear up there on the podium in any event. But some vigorous weaving behind the safety car from Henry Hassid, then the Charles Pozzi racer, who has had a great number of wins this year, and that really is vigorous weaving, trying to generate some temperature into the tyres. Johnny Lawson altogether more a comfortable approach to the start of this race, potentially. So Henry Hassid making very well known his intentions right at the very start, before the race has even started. Just in the picture there, the Claudio Schiavone car just goes out of the picture ahead of the Fujiwara car. Is car number 513. Cars told to grid up then behind the safety car side by side, and two gentlemen at the front, Henry Hassid and Johnny Lawson, two ladies right behind Fabian Volvend and Manuela Gosner. So on board the Hublot safety car then, as they head into the final turn, the Puccini turn, which is turn number 14, where you run downhill before the start-finish straight. They're champing at the bit, James Collado, here. This is going to be a feisty battle going into turn number 1, I feel.
Indeed, yeah. Very aggressive tyre warming up there. Let's see what happens.
Well, we, as always, are going to allow the music to build the anticipation ahead of the start of the world final race in the Coppa Shell class of Ferrari Challenge. So as the lights go green, keep your eyes on Fabian Volvend, who was very nearly into the gearbox of the Henry Hassid car as they cross the timing line. All cars are away then. Henry Hassid, and alongside it's Johnny Lawson, Fabian Volvend and Manuela Gosner. Here comes Eric Prinot then in the Dayglow yellow fronted car, and von Skeltermar with the shark's teeth all the way around the outside, and it's the Ingvar Madsen car that's just ahead of von Skeltermar. But Fabian Volvend has been relegated, and there's a change at the front as well, as Johnny Lawson gets ahead of Henry Hassid. Johnny Lawson, who is the Coppa Shell champion for Europe, is ahead of Henry Hassid. Manuela Gosner is ahead of Fabian Volvend, and there's a safety car already before even one lap is completed in the race, a safety car. So Johnny Lawson had done all the hard work and put himself ahead of Henry Hassid, and that's why Claudio Schiavone is off to the side of the track. The car is going to have to be recovered from there. The Kessel racer, Claudio Schiavone, who's had a really, really turbulent season this year, and his final race in the Ferrari Challenge for 2017 comes to an abrupt end. There's Niklas Nielsen from Formula Racing looking on. Here's a replay of the start then. Henry Hassid, Johnny Lawson on the front row, and Henry Hassid had first blood going into turn number 1, but Johnny Lawson had managed to get past Henry Hassid. James Wayland was having a go. Oh, and there was one car on the grass there that cut right across the pack. Now, whether that collected any cars or not, we can't see from that camera angle. But now Johnny Lawson was able to... here we can see it, James.
Oh, wow.
And that's why Claudio Schiavoni's out, isn't it?
You never want that to happen. Rollins starts, especially here, quick. He just literally went straight across the track, didn't he? And came out kind of unscathed, really lucky.
Well, there we can see the two cars involved in that. So on board with von Skeltermar, the Kessel racing driver then, who's running in P10. Cars all behind the safety car then. Incident right at the very start of the race. So the Formula Racing team then, who've had so much success this weekend, and it's their driver Johnny Lawson, who is P1 ahead of Henry Hassid and Manuela Gostner. Then it's Fabian Volvand and Eric Prinot, before we see Christoph Ernie and Barry Zeckelman is the best of the non-European drivers thus far, going from P7 on the grid, but we haven't even had one completed race lap. So they're on the Rosso Corsa pit wall. And to the Formula Racing pit wall. So the two cars then involved in that, I think it's David Dicker and, well, I certainly know it's Claudio Schiavoni. And the fans here, well, their race thus far has been curtailed, not even a lap completed. And how does that affect you, James, when you've got yourself psyched up, you've done your formation lap, the race gets underway, and blooming heck, before one lap is completed, the safety car is out. You've kind of got to go through the whole process again, haven't you?
Yeah, whole process again. Safety car, you kind of have it in the back of your mind that there's a high chance of a safety car at the start of the race.
Okay.
But now, their job now is just to keep as much temperature in the tyres and brakes as possible, because ideally they need to get a good getaway, especially the leaders. But yeah, it does kind of reset your mind a little bit, but these guys, they're not silly, they know exactly what they're doing, and yeah, we're going to see a good race when the safety car comes in. Shouldn't be too long, I wouldn't have thought.
It's coming in this lap.
There you go.
So yes, we'll be back to racing then at the conclusion of this safety car lap. So it'll be the responsibility of Johnny Lawson then to perhaps try and back them up. Henry Hassid will sense that there's perhaps an opportunity for him here to wrestle back that P1 position from Johnny Lawson. The two have had some fantastic battles as Eric Prinot's partner Monica looks on then, complete with iPhone hanging over the pit wall to record Eric across the timing line. So the safety car driven by former Ferrari Challenge champion Beppe Scanetti then lights up, and it's now down to Johnny Lawson to decide when he chooses to launch for the restart, and for Henry Hassid to try and anticipate when he's going to go for it as well. And I think there's good anticipation there from Henry Hassid and also from Manuela Gostner as they round the Buccini turn then, the final turn on the lap here at the Mugello circuit, and the safety car peels off. And let's go back to racing once again. Johnny Lawson leading from Henry Hassid, Manuela Gostner, then it's Fabian Volvand, Eric Prinot, and then it's Christoph Ernie. So the cars all scream across the timing line for the restart, and Fabian Volvand already on the back of Manuela Gostner. Henry Hassid to the outside of Johnny Lawson, hoping he'll be able to nip to the inside now if Johnny Lawson runs a bit wide, and he certainly does, but Henry Hassid not quite close enough to be able to make that move. But he's certainly keeping the pressure on the Formula Racing driver, Johnny Lawson, who has won the Coppa Shell Championship for Europe. Henry Hassid is P2, and then it's Manuela Gostner and Fabian Volvand. And Johnny Lawson has certainly got his rearview mirrors full of the 347 car at the moment of Henry Hassid, who's taken a big number of wins in the Ferrari Challenge Series this year. Particularly, remember, La Cassale, his home circuit, where he took 2 wins out of 2 races. It's extremely dominant there, but Johnny Lawson appears to have everything under control, and what a great end to the season it will be for him, having taken the championship, to take the gold roof as well, to become the world champion, the best of the North American, Asia Pacific and European drivers. It'll be a great boost. He's already committed to being in the challenge once again next year. very much looking forward to seeing this battle resume between Johnny Lawson and Henry Hassid when we get to Monza for the first race weekend next year. Here comes Henry Hassid now, then Johnny Lawson running just a little bit wider there. There's a drive-through penalty for the 508 car. Now that's the Zhang machine. So Zhang, who's running down there in P33 at the moment, gets a drive-through penalty. So Lawson then and Hassid, and they round the final turn and head towards the start-finish line. And there's Manuela Gosner being hounded by Fabian Volvend and Eric Prinot being left in their wake a bit in P5. And Fabian Volvend certainly closer to Manuela Gosner than she's been for a while, and will she try and move through turn number 1? Don't think she was close enough to be able to do so. Fabian Volvend then is, of course, first ever racer to win in the Ferrari Challenge, the first lady race winner in the race overall at Imola. Hassid doing well to keep with Johnny Lawson here, James. He's right in his wheel tracks, isn't he? But Mugello's a difficult place to overtake, and you almost have to provoke a little mistake, don't you?
Very difficult. It's extremely high speed, a lot of change of direction, no real stop, start, go corners. So you really do need to put them under pressure. Unless you can get past them on the straight into turn 1, it's quite difficult to overtake in the midfield. So you can see he's putting a lot of pressure on here. He's going to try and make a move at some point, I guess, but yeah, very tiring. There's no real rest in between the corners.
And Lawson just looks a little more ragged than Henry Hassid at the moment, because he's the one, as you say, he's under pressure, isn't he?
Yeah, there you go. He's running a bit wide there. You can see there's a difference in lines between the two cars. Both of them really using the curbs a lot, which is good. So yeah, quite aggressive.
Well, we'll see if through the chicane they go now, the Biondetti chicane, turn number 13, heading towards the Buccini turn now. And it's now that Henry Hassid really needs to be on the back of Johnny Lawson if he's going to try and set something up going into turn number 1. Again, very different lines indeed. Johnny Lawson running really wide there, James.
I think he made a mistake there. I think he just outbraked himself. You can see now he's right behind him.
So Hassid going to go for a move now into turn 1. He's getting the toe off the back of the Johnny Lawson car. So Johnny Lawson and Henry Hassid then fighting for this P1 position. Johnny Lawson will try and take a tight line through the turn. Henry Hassid is going to be a long way around the outside, but if you can maintain the momentum, it does give you the inside line for turn 2, but he wasn't able to do that.
Not quite able to do that. And
oh, this is great.
There's a bit of a moment there.
The back end of the Henry Hassid car stepping out then. These two are having a fantastic fight then. The first 10 minutes of the race done and dusted. It's Johnny Lawson leading Henry Hassid, and sorry, both of them now beginning to look a little bit ragged. They're breaking away a bit from Manuela Gosner and Fabian Volvend, who are running P3 and P4. So the top 6 places all occupied by European racers. The best of the Asia Pacifics is Tadakazu Kojima running in P7, ahead of Barry Zeckelman, who's the best of the North American racers, who's running P8 at the moment. So a real European battle of pride that's going on. And there's also another battle here, P3 and P4. It's the pride of the ladies, isn't it? And Manuela Gosner would really love to be on the podium here in the final race. And once again, Henry Hassid and Johnny Lawson kicking up some dust then, as they continue their quest there, P1 and P2, and Henry Hassid is continuing to pile on the pressure. Johnny Lawson really having to drive quite defensively, and Henry Hassid perhaps in the advantageous position of having to, or being able to attack, but of course he's got to try and provoke a mistake from Johnny Lawson to enable him to maybe convert that P2 into P1. He's not as close now as he has been. But Johnny Lawson, we felt, made a mistake going through turn 14 last time around. And again, Henry Hassid now is perhaps not as close to Johnny Lawson as he was. And Fabian Volvend probably not close enough to Manuela Gosner as they head across the timing line now and head into turn number 1. That San Donato turn, which is the right-hander that goes uphill. Oh, and Johnny Lawson and Hassid getting very, very close there. Hassid really closing under braking, and Johnny Lawson defensive, and Henry Hassid is all over the back of Johnny Lawson now. Johnny is having to make that 488 GTE car twice its width, really, to prevent Henry Hassid from coming through. I would say, James Collado, that Henry Hassid looks the quicker driver here.
He does, and it really does look like he's much better on the brakes. He's able to carry the speed into the corner, keep a tighter line, and yeah, it just looks better in the corners to me. Let's see what I can do. Can you see really on the inside of all the turns here, really making the distance as short as you can. It's really good for tyre wear doing that. So yes, we have a race on our hands.
We do, very much. Johnny Lawson and Henry Hassid were side by side at the Gala Dinner Awards that you saw in the programme right at the start of our race here for the World Final in the Coppa Shell category. And they're good buddies off the track, it has to be said. But, of course, once the crash helmets go on, all the thoughts of friendship go out, because every driver wants to be the winner. Doesn't matter who's in front, you're going to attack, and that's exactly what Henry Hassid is doing right now. And Johnny Lawson, to his credit, whilst he's using every bit of track, every bit of sausage curb, every bit of rumble strip and curb, at the moment is able to show a clean pair of heels to Henry Hassid, but picking up exactly on what James has said, as out goes Carl Williams then for Ferrari Beverly Hills. The 411 car is permanently beached there. Picking up on, as I say, what James Collado was saying about Henry Hassid just appears to be a little bit smoother, and perhaps when we get into the final stages of this race, the tyre wear for Henry Hassid will be a little less than for Johnny Lawson, and is that when he will be able to take advantage? Well, he's certainly not relaxing as he tries to get on the inside of Johnny Lawson now, but that would be the outside for turn number 2. Lawson again sticks his elbows out and makes it as wide as possible. We have got a yellow flag at turn number 7, but Hassid is right on his gearbox here, and has been for the last couple of laps or so, but he has not yet provoked an error from Johnny Lawson. And I have to say, the fight between the two of them, James, has actually been really clean as well. There hasn't been any love taps from Henry Hassid on the back of Johnny Lawson.
No, nothing. It's good racing, but I can't believe they're using the curbs so much here. It's
that's going to make the tyres vulnerable, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a risk, but obviously an advantage to be really using those curbs on the inside. It gets to the point they're actually kicking up all the dust. So interesting to see that. You can see he's lost a tyre there.
So that was the car going through the gravel trap. Of course, the gravel trap designed to do that very job in terms of breaking the speed and slowing the car right down, and that's exactly what it did. So here comes Hassid now. Lawson is slightly wider. There's almost a 488 sized gap for Henry Hassid to go through, and we also lose the 493 car of Osvaldo Gao, the Miller Motor Cars driver. Now, where that car is situated, and if that car can't be got going again, I should think that would run the potential for a safety car, because it's very close to the track surface. So Lawson again, he's quite wide going through the final turn. And Henry Hassid gets alongside him now. This is going to be a drag race potentially now towards turn number 1.
He had to back out of it because of the yellow flag.
Of course.
A safety car, there you go.
Well, one thing I've predicted correctly in the entire weekend. I thought we would see a safety car, and that's what we've done. And actually, I would suggest, James, for Johnny Lawson, he'll think, thank goodness for that, I can relax for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I would be.
So there is the 493 car that, as I mentioned, is the one that has caused that safety car, sadly out of the race. And this is how it happened. Just got out onto the gravel. Ooh, good job, didn't collect any other cars. Actually, that was quite an impact into the tyre barriers, but the integral safety of these cars is remarkable, isn't it? And whilst it looks like a lot of damage, actually these cars have been so very well designed, with driver safety completely at the forefront, James.
Incredible. I mean, it visually looks quite bad, but they are extremely safe. I had a huge crash a couple of years ago in Le Mans, and I hit a wall flat out,
yes.
And literally it just stops, and the car was destroyed, but I was okay. So it just goes to show how strong they are. That was an impact. That was quite a high speed impact there. So yeah, unfortunate. just got on the gravel, didn't he?
Yes, and once you've done that, you lose the grip, you lose the momentum. Well, you don't lose the momentum. You've still got the momentum, and you can't break that speed. You can't scrub it off, can you?
No, exactly. And you've kind of got a choice. Do you keep it flat out, or do you not? And obviously, it didn't work this time.
Here comes the challenge show right now. So the spectators flocking in then to enjoy this world final race in the Coppa Shell, which has been punctuated by a safety car right now, which is why we're bringing you some shots of the pit lane and the Rosso Corsa pit wall that we were looking at just then. The safety car is out, under investigation, a number of cars for overtaking under the yellows. And Barry Zeckelman is one of those who's running in P7 at the moment, so any penalties would really hurt Barry Zeckelman. So Johnny Lawson leading from Henry Hassid, then it's Manuela Gosner and Fabian Volven, two lady racers running in P3 and P4. Then we find Eric Prinot. Tadakazu Kojima is the best of the Asia Pacific drivers. The best of the North American drivers is Barry Zeckelman, who, as we mentioned, is under investigation for overtaking under the yellows. The graphics indicate on the left-hand side of the screen who's gone up, who's gone down, and I feel like a chart DJ host now saying that. And the cars all weaving from side to side, and actually that's a black flag for the 528 car of Charles Chan. Now, I've not seen anything on our message screen, James, as to why. A black flag is a race disqualification, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's unusual just to see a black flag directly without any warning, so...
Unless we only saw the black part of the flag and it was black and white,
could well have been.
perhaps.
We'll have a look, but for me that was a black flag.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see.
Well, as and when we get confirmation of that, we will bring that to you and the reason behind that. So Hublot's safety car continues to lead these cars around. Interestingly, it was on lap 4 that Henry Hassid was the quickest. He's the driver that's in P2 at the moment, and 1:53.417 was the fastest lap. And the safety car is coming in this lap, which means we're going to get a just under 10-minute dash for cash, aren't we, for the Gold Roof, the world final race here in the Finale Mondiali Coppa Shell race, which is being led by Johnny Lawson. Has to be said, Johnny Lawson has had to be very defensive indeed. There's Zhang then, the 508 car. Zhang then running in P23, the Asia Pacific driver. We've lost Osvaldo Gao, we've lost Carl Williams, we've lost Claudio Schiavone, and we lost David Dicker right at the start of the race as well. So Johnny Lawson, as I was saying, has had to be very defensive since he gained that P1 position from Henry Hassid. Henry Hassid started pole position, but Johnny Lawson got past him to lead the race. And as I say, the two ladies, Manuela Gosner and Fabian Volvend, doing a brilliant job running in P3 and P4. And for them, of course, as well, the pride of being up there as the best of the lady racers in this world final podium is very important. We're on board with Fons Skeltermar, who's P10, the Kessel racer. And he's following the Ingvar Madsen car number 399. So now, James, when you're getting ready for a safety car restart, presumably a lot of pressure on the brakes to try and dissipate some of that heat into the tyres.
Yeah, trying to get as much heat into the brakes and tyres and as close to the car in front as possible, because you really don't want to be caught out. You want to be right up behind them going into turn 1, because, you know, it's a good opportunity to make a move. Hassid's
certainly trying to do that. He's trying to anticipate, isn't he, when Johnny Lawson is going to go for it.
Exactly, and it seems throughout the whole race he's been better on the brakes, so he's got a good chance here, but all depends on
he just had to dial out of that, didn't he?
That could have been nasty, yeah.
So Hassid is eager, so too is Manuela Gosner. Johnny Lawson then launches the restart of this race. Of course, no overtaking until they've crossed the safety car line. The safety car will have peeled off into the pit lane, and we're going to have 8 3/4 minutes as James Wayland is there ahead of the 333 car of Murat Kuhadaroglu. And right, here we go. Henry Hassid, surely James is close enough to get a tow off the Johnny Lawson car going into turn number 1 now.
Let's see if he goes on the inside. Will he do a last of the late breakers? No, he's gone round. He's gone for the outside line again. Maybe he's going to do the cut back.
Is he going to be able to cut back? Johnny Lawson certainly runs wide. Of course, Johnny Lawson will have the inside for turn number 2. Henry Hassid right alongside him. And Manuela Gosner is in this fight as well, and she can sense the opportunity here that as Johnny Lawson and Henry Hassid has to dial on the opposite lock there to control that car. He really is pushing supremely hard. And Johnny Lawson is just keeping his nose down. He's over the sausage curbs once again. He really is not exceeding, but he's taking every single bit of tarmac and anything else he can to remain in front of Henry Hassid. And there we can see from being on board with the Johnny Lawson car just how close Henry Hassid is. James made the point that Henry Hassid certainly looks smoother, and whether that is going to pay off in the final 7.5 minutes, well, we'll have to see, because he's got to try and find a way past Johnny Lawson. He is quicker, and he can be quicker, but it's no good being quicker unless you can get past, my goodness me, James, all over the back of him.
This is amazing. That was so close, and he had a huge moment, Hassid, that is, behind that. And yeah, this is amazing. It's great to see, and total respect between these two drivers. Not one bit of contact yet, which is awesome.
They are both, of course, very experienced racers who've raced in a number of categories, including ELMS and many other things as well. And you can really sense that, the respect between the two of them. I mean, they have been within millimetres of each other, but perfectly safely in so doing. There's a number of cars that have got drive-through penalties. And at the moment, though, I can't be bothered really to bring you the details of those, because this is so exciting, because I don't think it's all over between Manuela Gosner and Fabian Volvend either.
I was just about to say the two ladies are catching up. Well, these two in the front are scrapping. Everyone else is catching up, so we've got a cracking race on our hands here. A bit of a gap now between the first and second. That's one of the drive-throughs.
That's the first of our drive-throughs. Sorry, we've not mentioned that. That's for the 499 car of Barry Zeckelman. But here is Johnny Lawson leading from Henry Hassid. There is Manuela Gosner and Fabian Volvend, the two lady racers there in the green and black car, and also the Octane 126 car that's running in P4 is the Fabian Volvend car. As once again, I'm beginning to wonder whether Johnny Lawson is almost deliberately trying to kick some gravel into the windscreen of Henry Hassid's car.
I was going to say, he'd make a great rally driver.
Oh, what a great race this is. So Henry Hassid steps it up once again and turns the wick up to Johnny Lawson, making sure that Johnny Lawson's rear view mirror is full of that Henry Hassid car. He's maintaining that pressure on the car ahead, but has to be said, Johnny Lawson, like Henry Hassid, supremely experienced racer. He knows almost exactly where to put that car and to stick his elbows out to prevent any opportunity for Henry Hassid to have a go. But it's he's done it for lap after lap after lap, and if he can continue to do this, then fair enough. But the pressure must be relentless, James. I mean, Johnny is really having to drive with a rear-view mirror, isn't he?
Yeah, in this situation, you just got to try and not look in the mirrors, try and stay focused, no mistakes. Difficult not to look in the mirrors, but it's one thing that I find quite helpful is just to try and concentrate on the front.
So forget about what's going on behind, just do your race.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, if he's really close behind, defend. But if there's that little gap there, just try and maintain concentration.
Well, just under 5 minutes of this race remaining, and Fabian Volvend is flashing her lights to try and distract Manuela Gosner ahead of her. Manuela Gosner it is that's running in P3. Fabian Volvend is at P4. The top speed through the speed trap, 274 kilometres per hour, as Fabian Volvend was taking a look at the inside line of Manuela Gosner. They're side by side. Manuela Gosner goes around, and that's a great shame, because they were having such a fantastic fight between the two of them.
So unfortunate, that.
So on the inside of Manuela turns in, of course, you know, it's... Well, the race stewards will look at that, and you know what, like being a football referee, I wouldn't want to be a race steward, but it'd be interesting to see that from a different angle, because I think that was probably a bit ambitious from Fabienne.
Yeah, it was just took that little bit of contact for her to lose the rear there and spin round. So, yeah, just unfortunate. I think, like you said, a little bit ambitious there, but let's see. We don't know yet. I need to have a look at a different angle.
Yes, you're right. Well, what that has done is put Manuela Gosler back down to P6. Her Ineco MP teammate Eric Prinot now ahead of her in P5. Fabian Volvend, of course, has elevated herself to P3 now. So it's Lawson Hassid and Fabian Volvend. And of course, whilst they were fighting and making contact between each other, that means that these two have been able to get away. About the incident involving cars 383 and 301 is under investigation. And James, you're no more surprised by that than I am, really. So that was almost inevitable, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And we'll see if anything comes about that. So we'll see, I'm sure, soon. But meanwhile, there's a little bit of a gap appearing now between first and second there. Look.
And do you think that that is because Hassid has pushed so blooming hard in terms of trying to keep on terms with Johnny Lawson that his tyre deg is perhaps a little bit more than that of Johnny Lawson?
Yeah, exactly. Could well be that. And, yeah, we've got a bit of a gap now. We've probably got 2 laps remaining, I guess. Yeah.
Yes,
so let's see if you can maintain that gap.
Well, at the moment, Fabian Volvend then running in P3, but Tadakazu Kojima was another one that took... can't quite see it, can we? Oh, I don't even know if Fabian was a little bit on the curbs then, you know.
Yeah, and it looked like she actually spun a little bit herself in the middle of the corner. I'm not sure if that was caused by the contact. Probably was.
Right.
It looked like it was a little bit of an oversteer moment as well. Could well just be a racing incident.
Well, Tadakazu Kojima was one that was able to take advantage of that, so he has split the EU drivers and he's the best of the non-European drivers at the moment for Asia Pacific, running in P4. The best of the North American racers is Fassbender, who's running in P16. Other than that, it's a complete EU route. Now that is a black flag, James, for car 5 something.
I think it was 508.
548.
Couldn't see the middle number.
I think it was 548. My director was telling me through my talkback, but I might be wrong.
So I still wonder what for.
Yeah, there's
don't know, but
nothing on our message screen,
nothing,
is there?
Nothing at all.
Now I'm just picking up on the message screen. There was a drive-through penalty for car 508. Now, if you don't take that drive-through penalty, you'll get a black flag, James.
Yeah, that's totally right. You think you've got 3 laps to take the penalty, so if he's not...
so that's Eric Zhang, isn't it, who hasn't taken the drive-through penalty and therefore has been disqualified because of it.
I'd say so, yeah.
Right.
In the meantime, the gap's closed a little bit. We've got purple first sector for Hassid there.
Here comes Manuela Gosler, who's, of course, trying to fight back. She's, as I mentioned, got her teammate Eric Prinot ahead of her now. But Fabian Volvend is at P3, Henry Hassid is P2, Johnny Lawson is at P1. We are on the final lap, James Collado. What a race this has been. James Wayland leading Murat Kuhadaroglu, and I have to say Murat Kuhadaroglu is someone that can really race aggressively when needs to. And Murat Kuhadaroglu then, but here is now for Henry Hassid, he's got the remainder of this lap, and where can he try? It's got to come from a mistake, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's got to come from a mistake, and as you say, I think they're quite friendly off track, so will he risk it, will he not? I don't know.
Well, let's see how the remainder of this lap unfolds then. It's Johnny Lawson leading Henry Hassid. And for Formula Racing, who have had a phenomenal World Final weekend here at Mugello, this will be some icing on a cake as well. To take the World Final in the Coppa Shell race would be brilliant for Johnny Lawson. And Hassid makes a mistake there, and he runs just off the curbs and into the gravel as well. And the gap has now increased sufficiently that I would think for the remainder of this lap, unless Hassid can find something from somewhere, that Johnny Lawson may have done enough, although the back end of the Lawson car then stepped out a little bit as Johnny Lawson still throws everything at it. Is there going to be a last turn lunge from Henry Hassid as they go through the final turn? He certainly gets close enough to do it, or does he? Johnny Lawson will make that car as wide as possible. He'll stick his elbows out as they head towards the timing line. Johnny Lawson and Henry Hassid, I have to say, have delivered for us what has been a brilliant race. And it's Johnny Lawson that will take the World Final race in Coppa Shell as he takes the checkered flag from Henry Hassid. Fabian Volvend will be P3. Tadakazu Kojima for The Asia Pacific will take P4, then it's Eric Prinot, Manuel Agostner P6, then it's Christoph Herney, Ingvar Madsen, Von Skeltemar P9 and Vladimir Hladic P10. I'll tell you what, James, that was a brilliant race to watch.
I was on the edge of my seat at points there, and it was awesome and great racing from Larson and Hassid there. Really, really good to see. Total respect. Both ladies again, great driving.
And still the cars are crossing the timing line then, because in battles, I mean, some 41 cars started the race. Actually, we didn't lose that many, which is great to see. And, well, we did lose the 575 car, sadly, right at the end of the race. Nagita Purna then found himself beached in the Ferrari Jakarta machine there from Indonesia, and that's the reason for that. So, a great race. The world final for Coppa Shell then has been won by Johnny Lawson. Now, the incident, incidentally, involving cars number 301 and 383, which was the two ladies fighting, Manuela Gosner and Fabienne Volvend, will be... there's no further action at all. So, James, you called it. It's a racing incident they've considered.
Yeah, I thought that might be the case. Wasn't entirely sure looking at the view we had, but yeah.
Well, once again, James Collado, we say thank you, and in the best possible terms, hope I don't see you later, because I know how pressured you are, and you've got to be out in a racing car a little bit later in the show.
I have indeed, yeah. Looking forward to that. Going to drive a few cars, have a bit of fun. So yeah, no, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Always.
And,
you're always welcome. So, James Collado, and of course, best of luck for next weekend.
Thank you.
So there is our new Finale Mondiali Coppa Shell World Champion then. Johnny Lawson has done enough, and he takes the win. Henry Hassid certainly pushed him right to the very end, and there is Henry Hassid, did everything that he could, but in the end, whatever he threw at the Johnny Lawson car, it was just not enough. And Octane 126 celebrating with Fabienne Volvend, who keeps her P3 position following that contact between herself and Manuela Gosner. So not only fastest of the ladies, but actually P3, and will be on the podium by dint of that P3 in any event. There's Niklas Nielsen from Formula Racing congratulating Johnny Lawson. Tell you what, you wouldn't not have a euro on Niklas Nielsen taking the Trofeo Pirelli honours, which is the next race that we have to come in our world final selection. Johnny Lawson, though, he'll be on the top step of the podium. He is the world final winner in the Coppa Shell category. Brilliant driving from Johnny Lawson. Let's relive the drama once again. So as they set off then, it was Henry Hassid P1, but Johnny Lawson was making his intentions known right at the start of the race, and unfortunately a couple of cars, including Claudio Schiavone, taken out right at the very start, and Johnny Lawson did put himself ahead of the Henry Hassid car before the safety car was called for the stricken 302 Claudio Schiavone car. And once Johnny Lawson had got his nose in front, whatever Henry Hassid was going to throw at Johnny Lawson, it was not going to be enough to unsettle the Formula Racing driver, as Matteo Babilas Santaponte, one of the driver coaches, looked on, and this was quite a heavy impact, but the integral safety of these fantastic 488 cars means that whilst there was some panel damage, it was not a problem. What it did mean was another safety car that Johnny Lawson had to defend from at the restart, but he did so, and did so very, very comfortably indeed. Henry Hassid, having taken so much out of his tyres in the constant chase against Johnny Lawson. This was Fabienne Volvend and Manuela Gosner getting together, and Fabienne Volvend, the big beneficiary, and Manuela Gosner falling back to P6 in the race. So Johnny Lawson, was it a defensive strategy in terms of kicking dust into the Henry Hassid car? But sure enough, that's what he did, both in real terms and metaphorically as well, because he takes the world final win for Coppa Shell. Fabienne Volvend then is the A lady that's made history in the Ferrari Challenge by becoming the first lady to take a race win overall, and she's taken P3 in the World Final. And Christian Berchinger, who's the team principal of Octane 126, congratulates her there. Confirmation of the result then: Johnny Lawson, Henry Hassid, Fabian Volvend on the podium with Tadakazu Kojima. Then it's Eric Prinot, Manuela Gersner, Christoph Ernie, Ingvar Madsen, von Skeltermar and Vladimir Hladek rounding out the top 10. So it's a real Europe route then. The best of the Asia-Pacific drivers, Tadakazu Kojima for P4, and the best of the North American racers was Michael Fassbender in P16, as you can see in the middle of that screen. Laurent Demuse, Dusan Palkra, there's Rotlander, Yao, Moon, Chen, Baker, Zeckelman, Honda, Wang, as you can see, all the way through then. And we did lose 5 cars in the end, as the Nagadipuna car ended up beached as well. So drivers will be sent up to the podium, and we'll enjoy the podium celebrations then, as yet another world champion is crowned. The pride of the Asia Pacific, North American and European series for Coppa Shell goes the way of Europe. And it's going to be Johnny Lawson that we'll see on the top step of that podium. Formula Racing having discussions about that to say very well done to Johnny Lawson. So there the banner is unfurled, and the people await the podium directly opposite the podium. They'll get a great view of that from those advantageous seats that they have here at the Mugello circuit. A fantastic Ferrari show to come a little bit later this afternoon, and James Collado, who was on the air with us. That's Niklas Nielsen and Jens Liebhauser. Niklas Nielsen, the young racer that has been very, very successful this weekend. And to the left of your picture is Jens Liebhauser, who's the AM champion in Trofeo Pirelli. Here's Fabian Volvend then on the third step of the podium. Here comes Henry Hassid then, couldn't quite make it to P1. Congratulate Fabian. And Johnny Lawson, what a weekend he has had. He's pretty chuffed with his performance, and rightly so. As I said, both he and Henry Hassid are good buddies, and big fight, but fair as well. Eric Chung, we could see watching on then as Johnny Lawson, Henry Hassid and Fabian Volvend up there on the podium. Christian Overgaard looks on, and Davide Rigon making the trophy presentation to Fabian Volvend. Of course, we saw Niklas Nielsen down there from Formula Racing. He won't be in the World Final races because he's not competed in enough races to do so. James Collado, hot foot from our studio, makes the trophy presentation to Henry Hassid. There's Tani Hanna alongside Eric Chung as Alessandro Pierguidi makes the trophy presentation to our new world champion, Johnny Lawson. Henry Hassid gets the gentleman trophy as well, presented by Sam Bird. And the best of the lady racers as well on the podium in real terms anyway. Fabian Volvend receives that. And so Sam Bird, James Collado, Alessandro Pierguidi and Davide Rigion all get in together as Michele organises organises the podium once again.
Due piloti dall'altra parte, grazie. Due piloti dall'altra parte, ok. For
That's
the driver, lift your trophy, up your trophy, and
Your
smile.
up trophy.
Photos.
No one takes any
videos
notice. That's what annoys me. Michele doing his level best.
For this final round for 488 Challenge Coppa Shell. Thank you very much. And now we are ready for the champagne battle.
Oh, Fabian Volvent first with that. Henry Hassid has legged it. Right, let's take a look at some of the emotions then here in Mugello. So Octane 126 enjoying the fruits of their success from Fabian Volvent, and we look down there in the pit lane and we look forward to the Trofeo Pirelli World Championship race to come. From us here in race commentary, from James Collado and from myself, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.